Hey guys, to help run the forums, host the website, and travel, we've introduced a universal service fee for in-depth coverage, including this video. My goal is to be unbiased and transparent. It's a privilege to serve you. This is not an endorsement. Let's get into it. Hey guys, we're downtown Toronto in kind of a hip neighborhood. This is where Virginia's shop is. We're checking out some Riese Müller bikes today. And look who it is, it's Preston! I love it. This is the low, this is the full suspension model from them. I've reviewed it in the past with Chris. And in this case, you know, we're looking at like a whole lineup, Virginia. How long have you carried these?
Over 2 years.
Wow. I mean, I remember when they were coming to the States and it was like, they were pretty picky about which shops carried them. And, you know, you kind of got to carry the whole line. So it's fun to see them.
I think we were one of the initial ones in Canada. And yeah, we went pretty heavy in Riese Müller, really focused on the full suspension ones, the Delight, the Homage, really get that comfort, that control technology, which is amazing.
Well, and there's so many people around here with the rain, potentially the snow, so you kind of need an all-terrain, like all-weather, really high-quality bike if you want to ride every single day. And that's what these guys are known for. So I was actually going to focus on the Charger over there, but this is your mom. This is Sue.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm great. Yourself?
I'm doing really well. We were talking about bikes early on and kind of going through the shop a little bit, and it sounds like this was one of your favorites right here, yeah?
It's just fabulous. It's a step through, and it's, you know, so easy to get on and off, and the sleek look is just amazing.
Yeah, and the thing that's really cool about these bikes is that they come in like 3 different sizes. So, you know, I'm just kind of to give you some perspective, like different, you know, like inseams and stuff. But you guys are such a sporty, active family, and getting out here with these bikes is fun. You know, so we're looking at the Nevo right here. This is the GH Vario, and then over here we have the Charger. That's really the focus of this review, but I always think it's kind of fun to show the different bikes back to back and let you know that in a lot of ways these are fairly comparable. It's just the step-through version, and then this is the high-step version. Both of them have the option of adding a second battery, so you can get some really long-range riding in, you know, whether you're commuting to work or just going on like a big trekking adventure ride. Like that's something that I really think about with these bikes, that, you know, they're really versatile. So I was talking about the double battery option here, and I realized that we actually have some of those external power pack 500s right here on these other models. So you can see how this is a down tube mounted power pack, and the other bikes, they don't necessarily have that power tube, the integrated battery, but when you combine the two of them, you can still maintain that like sort of low step approachability. Maybe it becomes a little bit more of a mid-step, but I thought that was so cool. I reviewed the Nevo a while back, and I've actually covered the Charger, but I haven't seen the updated version, and I really like this color. It comes in this matte black. There's actually 3 colors. It's kind of got like some matte, some gloss, really tying into that suspension fork. This is an air fork. It's got a through axle, really burly, so it's highly adjustable with the lockout over here, and then you can sag it, sort of adjust the air pressure based on your weight, and then there's some adjustability down here too, rebound. So, you know, when I think about these bikes being an everyday rider or a long distance traveler, I think a lot about comfort, and tires is one area that really matters to me too. So having something that's slightly wider, these are the Schwalbe Supermoto X, 27.5 by 2.4, so they're not quite plus size. We still have a standard 100mm hub spacing down there and 135 in the rear, but they do give you a little bit more stability. They give you some comfort depending on, you know, what type of air pressure you've added, and then their performance. So they've got some puncture resistance, they've got that reflective sidewall stripe, and that ties into the integrated Supernova headlight, points where you steer, gotta love that, and the integrated top light in the rear. They do make this bike in a speed pedelec version if you want, but that's not what we're looking at here today. This is the GH Vario, so it's like a kind of like a heavy duty is how I would describe this. It can accommodate up to, what was it, like 350 pounds?
Yes. Yeah, both of these are designed for heavy weights, and it's not necessarily just the frame, it's the quality of the rims, the components to really handle that weight, the shocks.
Yeah, and so we were talking about the suspension. Look, from here you can even see there's like little reflectors on the front lowers. That's right here. So there's a little bit more just visibility, and especially on a black bike, that's kind of nice. I would have loved to see in some of the Riese Müller headlights, they have like little cutouts on the side so the light shines out sideways. This one does not, but it's got an alloy case and it's pretty bright. Like Supernova's been a leader for a long time. Virginia was talking about heavy duty, so it has this block lock like headset, so it doesn't oversteer. It might bump into this bottle if it did, or potentially hit the frame. This is something that I see again on really heavy duty stuff. ErgoTech 6, so this is like safety rated heavy duty stem, a bit of a riser there, and the handlebar. It's designed to it's basically rated for more weight and for higher speeds potentially, even though this particular bike is not a speed pedelec. I think one of the differences is if you do get the speed pedelec class 3, unlike the United States or other markets, the rear light would light up when you pull those brakes. But the brakes are otherwise very comparable. These are the Maguro MT4 hydraulic disc brakes, dual piston, 180 millimeter disc brake rotors, front and rear, excellent stopping power, and that's great because this is like a 63-pound bike. I'm looking at the frame size medium, and as I said, it comes in several frame sizes. So if you're someone who's a little bit more petite and you don't want to feel overwhelmed by the bike, you have that option, or you can go with the step-through over there, the Nevo that we talked about. So I love that. I like that they've got these sort of proprietary bottle cage mounts right here, and you can get this fabric water bottle. They've got this 50-pound, yeah, it's like 20 kilogram max load rear rack here that's got the integrated light and connected to the fender. That's what I was trying to get at. These are fairly wide fenders and going to keep you a little bit drier given the wider tires. They're plastic, which is very durable. They're not going to rust if they get scratched like steel might, and they're a little bit lighter weight than aluminum. So 63 pounds with that Cane Creek Thudbuster suspension seat post. That's something I think about, right? We talked about the suspension, the tires and everything. Then the fact that this comes with a suspension post and a pretty nice like gel saddle, the ergonomic Ergon branded grips, like everything here is like premium kind of name brand, except for maybe the bell. Bell's just kind of a basic flick bell. So what makes this special, this particular model, is that it comes with the Enviolo by New Vinci continuously variable transmission. So there are these orbs inside, and there's like a pivot, and when you're shifting gears, you're actually shifting like gearing ratios, and there's this little infographic where the guy's on flats right now, so that's actually like a higher gear, will help you go faster or maybe going downhill, and then when you change it where he's climbing hill, that's a lower gear, so it's easier and you're going to spin a little bit faster, and all that happens. You can actually shift at standstill like we just did. There's just the wiring and that pivot back here. They've got a 1x1 setup going on, so there's a 26 tooth chain ring or belt ring up front, 28 tooth sprocket in the rear, and this is the Gates carbon belt drive with CDX center track design, so it doesn't come off. This is all premium stuff. It's very quiet. It's more reliable than a chain, but they can only do this on frames that either have a cutout or have this lower dropout. So see how the belt doesn't actually go above the chainstay? That's so that they could run this with a belt drive, which is really neat. Also, this Enviolo is rated for higher torque, which is important given that the bike has a Bosch Performance Line CX. This is their EMTB, like mountain bike ready motor from Bosch. Bosch does a great job. I've reviewed this motor and some of their other Performance Line motors many times. This one offers up to 75 Newton meters of torque, and it's a very sophisticated controller. So it's listening to your rear wheel speed. There's a sensor right there, and there's a little magnet floating around. There it is, right down there. It's measuring your pedal cadence and your pedal torque over 1,000 times per second, and it's calculating feedback for how hard you're pedaling, whether you're shifting gears, whether you're pushing at all, because it's not one of those motors that feels out of control. It's very responsive, and it's efficient. Okay, so depending on the level of assist that you choose, the range is really going to vary. I do want to say that, especially at the beginning of its lifespan, these sort of Enviolo, New Vinci, continuously variable transmissions, they do add some weight to the bike, and there's also a little bit of sluggishness, at least at first, until they're kind of broken in. I have noticed that, and I've confirmed it with some other people. Riese Müller does have some, it's more of like a geared hub, internally geared hubs that it's like roll off. They have electronically shifted stuff, but those tend to be more expensive. So this bike that we're looking at right now, outfitted as we see it, is $775 Canadian or $5,800 US. So you're still spending more, but it's it's significantly less than like some of the really high-end bikes with the full suspension and stuff, and you're still getting a pretty good feeling. So for me, as someone with sensitive knees, I'm always going for like more comfort. Even that upright handlebar position here, you can see there's like a kind of a low to mid-rise handlebar. It's brought up a lot with those spacers and that stem. That's stuff that I think about, you know, when you're riding further. It's important to have ergonomic comfort and support. Other things that I notice that might be easy to overlook if you're new to the e-bike space. I mean, look at these black spokes. These are nice Alex rims, a little bit wider, so they support the wider tires. We've got this little partial belt cover. So a lot of bikes don't even have a chain cover, and chains are messier than a belt. So to have a cover for your belt is really nice. Means I don't have to wear like a little binder for my pant leg. I appreciate that. We've got some aluminum alloy platform pedals with a little bit of rubber tread, so these aren't going to scrape your legs up if you slip off. I was talking to Sue about that earlier, riding bikes, and she's like, oh no, you know, I want to ride the bike and have fun and stay clean. I don't want to cut myself up. So, you know, the configuration of like a his and hers option from Riese Müller, both of which can have those high capacity double battery packs, is pretty phenomenal. Before I get into the battery too much more though, I just want to appreciate the rest of this. So there's no quick release on the rear. It's sort of bolted on. We do have like a sliding horizontal dropout, and that's so you can tension that belt. This is like a proprietary rack with this Abus Bordeaux folding lock. So see how I opened it up right there, and then I can slide this out. This lock is actually key-to-like to the battery locking cylinder. They both use the same Abus key, so that's really nice. You're not going to get a lot of clutter in your purse or in your backpack or whatever. It fits right there, and it stays out of the way. You can actually lower the seat all the way without colliding with your rack or the lock. That's little things like that. Riese Müller, they really nail it. We've got the Plesher ESGE adjustable and kickstand right here. That's nice, and it stays clear of that left crank arm. So if you're pedaling backwards or moving the bike, you're not going to get pedal lock. We've got some, you know, bottle cage bosses here. They could be used for another folding lock, or maybe just a drink in addition to the one that's up there. All kinds of accessories. And this is also where you'd mount that second battery, but you do have to get that at time of purchase. It does bump the price up pretty significantly. I think it's like $800 US. Here's the charging port, so you can charge the batteries on or off the bike. And if you do get the dual battery, it'll charge them both simultaneously and fill them evenly and discharge them evenly. It's a really nice setup, one of the best in the industry. Everything is internally routed, but fairly accessible when we open the battery compartment. I'll show you that later. This is a tapered head tube, so you could upgrade that suspension fork even more if you wanted, but this is already pretty nice. That's SR Suntour Ion. It's got the black anodized stanchions that are a little bit tougher, and they just look really nice. And look at this, the double support arms on those fenders. They're not going to rattle quite as much. There's so much about this. Even the stem, before I was talking about the ergonomics of it, but they've integrated the Bosch kiosk display panel, and this is an upgrade. This is optional. It's like $150 more to get this. It's got a nice Gorilla Glass screen, and if you're someone who commutes, you can take it off so people won't be tampering with it. If we come over here to the Nevo, by comparison, this one has the Bosch Intuvia, which is also removable. It's a little bit, well, they've actually got it locked down. A lot of times with these demo bikes, they put a little set screw in there so you can't take it, but that's an optional thing. So we could take that off. You can swivel it to adjust for glare. I really like this display, and it does have a little charging port, just like the new kiosks. But it's a little bit more limited. It doesn't have the Bluetooth, some of these other nicer features. So that's one of those options you could pay a little bit more for. Also on the Nevo, they've got an Abus Shield Cafe lock that just puts like a rod through the rear wheel to disable it, versus a full folding lock. That's, you can take it off and you can lock whatever part of the bike you'd want. Considering that this has quick release front, just like the Charger, I would probably be having a separate lock to lock that in so people don't tamper with that, because these are nice rims, they're really nice tires. This stuff adds up. You know, have you spent time with both of these bikes, Virginia?
I have.
You know, what's been your experience going from like the step through to the high step?
Going from the step through to the high step?
Yeah, like in terms of frame strength and stuff, because one thing I'm always thinking about, like frame flex, but they overbuild their frames so much.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the big benefits of the Nevo is the Nevo has won multiple awards for being a very strong step-through frame. So
Yeah.
when you ride this, and we've had a lot of customers who've come in looking for step-through bikes, and they ride them, and when they get on this one, the stability, the smoothness, like it just glides. It almost feels like you're floating.
Yeah.
And that's what's so special of the Nevo and the Charger.
To have a step through that can have 2 batteries that's still rated for up to 350 pounds, like that's awesome. And I'm emphasizing this one because I was enjoying talking with Sue about it and stuff, but it's neat to see back to back and how many options they have, drivetrain options, speed options. This one's got like the Brooks saddle and the extra bar ends and stuff, and it's a little more like mountain oriented with those Rock Razor tires with the nubs and stuff like that. I really like the Riese Müller stuff. You do pay a premium, but how have they been selling for you, and what are people thinking?
Yeah, so our most popular has been the Nevo, and
Okay.
yeah, once you
For
try
guys
it,
too? Yeah, is it?
Well, yeah, we have sold to guys as well.
Because with hip challenges and stuff, we were talking about this the other day, where you're like trying to get your leg over the rack.
It tends to be an older demographic, so we definitely have couples where they do buy both. Sometimes, like you can also get the Charger in a mixed frame, so it does go a little bit lower.
Oh, a little bit lower. Yeah.
You do have that option.
So there's this like plastic cover. It's kind of a rubberized plastic, and I like that Riese Müller have gone with this because it's lighter weight than some of the other companies. I think Trek has like a side-mounted battery, and Bulls might have like a metal cover. So using like a rubberized cover saves a little bit of weight, and it's still very durable. It's protected by that fender, but you kind of have to like pull that down like this, open that door, and then there's a strap in here on the battery, and you don't pull it or anything. You first unlock it up here, and see how it tipped out just a little bit? Like it comes out to this first step, and that's for security and safety. So the battery doesn't just clunk out and fall onto the concrete.
Yes.
You know, they're pretty sensitive and more expensive parts, so you want to be careful. And then there's like this button on top. Do you want to do it?
Sure can. So just press down.
Okay.
Releases.
Wow, and there it is. So 6.3 pounds for this. This is the PowerTube 500. It does have a little like LED charge level indicator built into it, and then that same charging port that's compatible with the Charger, same as that. So I'm going to show you the Charger real quick. This is like 1.7 pounds, 4 amp charger. I really like this charger. It's got an excellent, pretty durable plug, proprietary. There it is. And it charges a little bit faster, which is good if you go for that double battery option, but even 500 watt hours, that's a decent size. So again, 6.3 pounds for this versus like 5.5, 5.6 for those power packs. So those are actually lighter. They just aren't as aesthetically pleasing as the PowerTube. So this is a bike that can really blend in, and that's nice where they position the weight low and center on the frame. Just done a really good job. So she's gonna set the bottom in, and then you actually have to turn the key pretty hard like this to open it up, and then you hear it click, and then go ahead a little bit more. Good job. I'll take these out of the shop for you. And there we go. She got the rubber cover on there. So that's it. That's what it looks like to get the battery out, put it back in. It's fun to show you that, just to kind of talk about the design, but also I tend to take the batteries out of my e-bikes when I'm like traveling. Maybe I'm putting it on a car rack, because again, it's a 63-pound bike. So if you can reduce that by 6 or 7 pounds, maybe take the display off or something. You don't want to lose it, but this one does have a lockdown option too. There's like that set screw, so if you're worried about that. So taking the battery off, it's also a good idea if it's cold out or if it's extremely hot and maybe you're parking this bike in your garage. Those lithium-ion cells can be kind of sensitive to temperature. So it's great that it is removable and that they got the great charger and everything like that. I think the next thing I plan to do was go through the display, but I want to give you a chance to share anything you feel like you wish to on this, or any feedback. As a shop owner, I mean, you sell all kinds of bikes. Mm-hmm. What are you carry Riese Müller, you carry Stromer, and then you've got your brand Amigo. It's a little bit more affordable.
The ease of use is so great, the reliability, and really it's when you try a Riese Müller, you kind of dream of it after. And it's a bike that anyone who we've tried, like, they just can't get it out of their mind. And that's like what, like, I became a huge fan after I met the founders, who were saying, we're in this for electric mobility, car alternatives. Like, a lot of electric bikes are recreation.
Yeah.
But Riese Müller is really focused on a bicycle that's a car alternative. So all of their bikes are cargo equipped.
Yeah.
And they're equipped to, be ready for the road, have the fenders, have that water bottle, and really use it to commute, use it to get around, and cut back from 2 cars to 1 car. So Riese Müller, I found that they were just as passionate as I was, and that's what really made me want to get into the brand. And then after riding them, and the style too, like, look how beautiful this is.
Hey, they are beautiful.
And you can really feel like that German-made, like, solid electric bike.
And like precision, you know, there's so much on these that's really special. You know, I talked about the block lock. I talked about how the components all match. They've done a good job. So thank you for that. It is a review, so I'm trying to be somewhat critical and point out that it's more expensive, or, you know, hey, it's a little bit heavier, but those are just some of the trade-offs. I think that you're paying for kind of the best with Riese Müller. They're definitely one of the best brands in my mind. So in a lot of ways, this is a bit more of a show and tell.
Yeah, and I think it's a bike that you're buying for 10, 20 years. Like, you do pay more, but it's an investment. A bike that you're going to truly enjoy, really get out on, and not need to replace in 5 years or so.
And with Bosch, I mean, they've supported their batteries. They do have like 10-year plans or whatever, and they drop test more of their stuff. And it's just it's a more reliable brand from what I've heard. And please chime in if you have any feedback. You know, this is meant to be kind of like an open, supportive community. So whether it's the YouTube comments or back on the site in the forums and stuff, it's always nice to hear your experiences. And that, you know, I have a Riese Müller forum. It's designed to people from the company see that stuff and hopefully improve their products. But it's nice to see them over in North America. I'm going to jump into the display at this point. We just press the power button. Bike's all charged up and everything, or at least partially charged up. We got 23% right there. This display is so great. You know, one of the trade-offs of how they've mounted it here is that you can't like adjust the angle for glare because it's built into the stem, but it's really clean and sleek this way. It feels like it's really well protected. It does have a Gorilla Glass face, so if it pops off, you should be in pretty good shape. It's not going to get cracked super easily. There's a clock at the top. It's telling us off. We're in no assist right now, so this is just kind of a very fancy, heavy bicycle. But as soon as we press the plus or minus, you know, we're going to cycle through these different assist levels. So Eco, Tour, EMTB, and Turbo. So EMTB, it gives you a wider range of support, and it's more based on your pedal torque. And that's something that they did specifically for their electric mountain bikes. Any of the Bosch motor bikes that use the Performance Line CX, they have EMTB mode. So it's kind of a fancier one, and shops can adjust the firmware for you. But I tend to ride in that a lot because it's very efficient. It feels natural. But you might have noticed that the color changes on this display depending on the assist level that's chosen. So it's giving you some like visual feedback, even if you're way up here and you're not able to read the smaller print, because it is a little bit smaller than the grayscale and Tuvia. You're going to get that color cue and you're going to know what's going on. So this is just one of several display menu readouts. We can go left or right and cycle through the others. So if I go right, we got clock and range updates dynamically depending on their level of assist. So if I arrow down a little bit, it says, okay, 8 miles, or we're actually in kilometers, and then 13 kilometers. So it's really dependent on how full that battery pack is and how you've been riding it. It looks at like the last mile of use. And this comes down even to the tires. If your tires are lower pressure, you're not going to get as much efficiency when you're riding. So keep all those things in mind. There's some other good topics on the forums. You can ask people, maybe ask your local shop for advice on that. Trip distance, so that's how far we've gone recently. Ride time, power in watts, and cadence. Those are 0 right now because we're not riding, but that's a fun one to watch as you're pedaling. And cadence is really interesting. With the Bosch motors, the Performance Line, they offer up to 120 RPM support. So some bikes, you get up to 100 pedal strokes per minute and the motor kind of poops out. This one, it keeps going 120, and again, that's because it's Performance Line. It's 75 Newton meters of torque. It's EMTB. It's a really great motor and makes sense on a heavier duty bike like this. So we arrow to the right, average speed, max speed, and the top speed on this is 32 kilometers per hour, roughly 20 miles per hour, because it's a class 1 electric bike. And then this is just like a 4 readout. There's a heart rate monitor. You have to kind of sync that up, and that's at this last screen. So there's settings, whole bunch of menus in here, including Bluetooth, system settings, information, gives you a little bit more. You can change the kilometers per hour to miles per hour. I've done a separate video on this back in the forums where I go really deep and show you what that's all about. But I do want to point out that you can take this cover off, and there's a little micro USB port in there, so you can charge your smartphone or other portable electronics right off of the main bike. And I'm just trying to line this up carefully. There it is, perfect. So I think that's neat. They've even got a hole there so that the wire can run out and you can mount your phone. It's a pretty good setup. I think that's a good overview. We've talked about all the different parts, and it's fun to get to show these back to back. Thank you so much, and thank you to Sue. She did a good job. I was like, hey, I'd love to, you know, pick your brains on camera, and she was brave and did it. So maybe it's time for a ride, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, sweet, sweet. Lead on, let's go somewhere cool.
All right. We're gonna go to bike lanes.
Okay.
When I started my company 8 years ago, there were basically no bike lanes in Toronto. My girlfriends used to be like, you can't ride a bike, you're crazy. And now there's bike lanes everywhere, and those friends are riding bikes in Toronto now too.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a fun city to ride around. We've done a couple adventures. And these both have the same drive system and everything, so I thought it'd be fun to show kind of riding together. For this one, I'm going to start off in EMTB mode and just shine the camera down there, and you can see how rapidly that chain is moving, or that belt. It does have a reduction gear, so there's 2.5 revolutions of that belt ring at the front, the 26 tooth, for every single crank revolution, and it does introduce a little bit of reduction drag. That's something that all the performance line motors have, but it gives them a very instant, like, responsive start, which is something I like. It sets them apart a little bit in the industry. Go. Feeling pretty stable. Got the whole bike lane to myself. It's nice. You can see the little power meter surging. There's a bit of a whine associated with the Bosch motors. That's just how they've always kind of been. But once you get riding, especially in the city, you don't notice it too much. Want to race off the line this time? I'm going to dial this, get to the lower gears.
I've got a bit of an advantage here.
Oh, man, yeah. Well, because you got the high torque motor, in a way you don't have to shift down too much. It gives you a lot of power. Oh, there it is. There she goes.
Probably should. Oh, look at Court go.
I don't know what to tell you guys. Learn how to use those gears. She's catching up in the long stretch, though. Isn't this pretty? I've been having a blast, and she's totally right. They've got good bike infrastructure here, like these blocked lanes and everything. It said it might rain later, so it's nice that we got the fenders and everything going on. Sweet. Okay guys, from here you can kind of see that belt, and you'll be able to hear the motor a little bit better. I do my best when I'm riding to like shine the camera around, but I like the frame shots. You get to see me maybe shifting gears a little bit, and you'll hear the motor, like the sound changes depending on the RPM that I'm pedaling. Again, this does support up to 120 RPM, which is excellent. The Bosch motor weighs about 8.8 pounds, which can kind of be on the heavier side, but they've got an excellent 2-year comprehensive warranty. Again, Riese Müller, really good support through the local dealers and stuff. So that's what I'm thinking about. And also those brakes, they're working just fine, like as you'd expect. Hydraulic disc brakes are awesome. They don't require as much hand effort, and there's reach adjustability on those levers, so you can dial it in if you do get the smaller size frame, or maybe the larger one, and you know you're someone with bigger hands. There's a lot that you can do. And just like that little charge port cover right here, it's really custom. You do a great job. yeah, I unlocked the suspension, and I just thought I'd try to show that off in a different angle. Hello. Puppies. These tires have been doing really well, even with like the train track cracks and things like that, that you can kind of get hung up on if you have the narrower tires. So these feel really stable. They span cracks pretty well. They aren't getting hung up. And you might have noticed when I was pedaling earlier, the motor kind of cuts out when you go beyond 32 kilometers per hour, 20 miles per hour. And that's just how it's set up. So there's a little bit of that reduction drag, but you certainly can go faster pedaling or going down hills. It's not gonna like slow you down from coasting. Kind of fun. We're just riding around town, and is this the Lamborghini SUV? Virginia's got like some pretty cool, some good taste. I didn't even notice. Cool car. Wow. Not the most sustainable choice, but certainly beautiful. Pretty soon those will be driving themselves. Sweet. Well, thank you so much, Virginia. This was fun. Nice to meet your mom.
Yes.
Good job. I've got, well, now the Charger GH, what is it? The Vario?
Vario.
That's the word they use for all of the like NVOLO continuously variable transmission ones. But I've got all the details back at the site, along with the comparison tool, so you can click like compare, and you could compare these bikes back to back if you're considering it, or go into your shop. You guys do like, people can kind of demo the bikes, right?
Oh yeah. You can go out, test ride on these roads that we're riding on right now, really see the feel, and trust me, and Riese Müller feels like no other electric bike.
They're pretty fantastic. Yeah, if you guys haven't tried it, it's a bit of money to spend, but the people who are really serious about the quality and having something that's going to be reliable, they go for that. So that's it. Have fun out there. Ride safe. Give us your feedback. Love you guys. We'll see you next time.